Hey everyone, we're back. Going to make another video today. This video is going to mainly cover converting a Topcon job to a Trimble job. So what we're going to have is a Topcon TP3 file that was sent to us, and we are going to convert the site calibration, the surface file, the linework file. We're going to convert it all so that we can use it in Trimble Earthworks, or if you have a Trimble GCS machine, we can use it in that. So let's get started on this. I sent an email containing my TP3 file that we're going to use to myself, and maybe this is how you guys are going to have it. We'll run through everything from beginning to end. So we are going to right click and save our TP3 file. We are going to save it to our desktop, where we're going to create a new folder. And we're just going to name it Topcon Test Job. Go ahead and open this, and we're going to make a folder called Topcon Files. And I'm going to show you guys how I organize all of my jobs, everything when I do this. I'm going to have a folder for Topcon Files, and I'm going to have a folder for Earthworks Files. So I'm going to save our test job, and then I'm going to close out of that folder, and we can see our Topcon test job got saved on our desktop, same place we created it. Double click to open that, and we can open our Topcon files, and now we can open this TP3 file. And the program we're going to use to view this is Topcon 3D Office, and you guys can message me if you want this software. We're going to use Topcon 3D Office and Business Center HCE to do everything that we're going to do today. So once again, send me a message and I can get you guys hooked up with those programs that I have. So let's go ahead and double click to open our TP3 file, and we can see the job that we have loaded up right here. So the first step that I take to do this is I go ahead and export out everything I need out of the TP3 file. So first things first, we're going to export our control points. So if I click Project and Export Control Points, and I export it to a text file, I can see that I've got formats for lat, long, and height, and point name, northing, easting, and elevation. If you guys don't have these formats, you can click New Format right here, give it a name, file extension, we can do CSV, and then we can add our line items, which we can add. And then we can do, point name, hit OK, add another one. We can do latitude, we can do longitude, and then we can do height. So now I'm going to do lat, long, height 2. And now we can see that we've got a lat, long, and height 2. And we can click edit and see we've got point name, lat, long, and height. And then the one that we just created, we've got point name, lat, long, and height. Just want to check one thing. Yep, CSV and CSV. So you guys can create those formats if you want. I'm going to delete my lat, long, and height too. But let's go ahead and export out our control points as point name, northing, easting, and elevation. I am going to hit Browse and go to my desktop, my Topcon test job, my Topcon files, and I'm going to name this PNEZ, just so that we're consistent all the way through. I hit Finish, Save, and Finish, and if we look at our folder now, we've got our PNEZ. Same thing, export out our latitude, longitude, and height of each point now. Once again, I'm going to click Browse, go to my desktop, go to my Topcon test job, Topcon files, and I'm going to name this one latitude, longitude, and height. So I've exported out the northing, easting, elevation that the surveyor gave us, and I've exported out the latitude, longitude, and height, which is the points that we get when we do our site calibration. When you set your rover up on your control point, you get that latitude, longitude, and height. So now that we've got our northing, easting, elevation, and our latitude, longitude, and height, we're going to export out our grading surface next. So if I go to 10 and I go to 10 surfaces, I see that I've got one 10 surface, and it is visible, and we can see that it's these gray triangles in here. So we are going to export that out. And I selected my 10 surface. I'm going to export my current 10 surface to an AutoCAD file. And once again, I'm going to go to my desktop, same place we've saved everything else, Topcon Files folder, and I'm going to name this one Surface. And now we can see that we've got a surface.dwg, and that's fine for what we're going to do today, but there's different ways to get our surface. I'm just showing you guys how to take everything from your TP3 file and put it into Trimble Business Center. So I'm going to go back to my 10 surfaces after I export it, and I'm going to turn it off. Visible, no. So now we can see that that gray triangular surface is gone, because now I'm only concerned about the lines that are in here. So if I hit my line work drop down, I can export selected line work, but it's grayed out because I don't have anything selected. So if I just click top left of my screen, left click, and drag, and I select everything, you'll see it's selected when it pops up with the little white selection squares around it. Now I can go to line work and export selected line work to AutoCAD file. Same place as before, my Topcon test job with my Topcon files. I'm going to call it line work. And we have now done everything that we're going to do with this TP3 file. I've got my control points right here. Both of these are my control points. I've got a line work file and a surface file. So I am done with this TP3 file, but I'm not going to close out of it. I'm just going to minimize it. Next up is I'm going to open up both of these control point files, the northern easting elevation and the latitude, longitude, and height. Make it where I can see both of them. If in Windows, if you drag a window, a program all the way to the right, you can see both of them at the same time. And I can see my base station doesn't have any data, so I'm going to delete that column. The thing here is when we import our points into Trimble Business Center, they can't have the same name, so you can't have 2 points at number 1. Okay, so all we're going to do is on our lat, long, and height folder, we're going to rename it. And there's an Excel function that will allow us to do this easy. So I'm just going to put an A in each of the column. I have a control point, so 4 each row, so 4 rows means 4 A's. And the function I'm going to use is concatenate, and that basically lets us put 2 cells right next to each other. So I'm going to do concatenate. I'm going to click my first cell, number 1, comma, and then my second one, the A, close my parentheses. And now we have 1A, and you can see the function right here that I used, equals concatenate parentheses A1 comma G1, which is 1 and A. And I press enter. And then we can highlight, drag it all the way down, and there we have it. Now I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to copy, and I want to paste these right here, but what I'm going to do is right click, and I'm going to do paste value, so that now I have a 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. Then I can get rid of these points, delete those. Make sure, so we've got 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, and 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. I do want to make sure that I save both of these files. We'll know if we did something wrong here in just a moment. But I'm going to go ahead and close both of these again. And now if I open my lat, long, and height, I'll see that I've got 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. So that's good there. Now I'm going to open Business Center HCE, double click to open that. And my slow computer, it may take a second to open this. Couple things while we open this. You know, we created got our TP3 file sent to us. Opened that TP3 file in Topcon 3D Office. And then we exported first our control points, then our surface, and then our line work file. And that's what we're working with right now. So now that I've got Business Center open, I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to hit File, New, and then make sure that we have US Survey Foot selected. Unless you're working in some other coordinate system, make sure we have US Survey Foot selected. Press OK. Give it a second for my dinosaur computer to boot it up. And And here we have our plan view for Trimble Business Center. Go ahead and close my start page, but we have the plan view right here. So first things first, I am going to import my control points. First one I like to do is select my PNEZD. And I'm going to left click, and in Trimble Business Center, all you've got to do is left click and drag that file and drop it in the plan view. We're going to let our import format editor come up. And we've got a lot of options for what we can import these points as. I'm going to go down and make sure we choose PNE elevation, which is Z and D. And we can see our points down here. Everything looks right. So when I have that, I'm going to hit import, which is right here. And it's going to import those point files. Project definition just tells you, just gives you a little definition of what it is right here. Hit OK. And it's taken a second, but now we've got our 4 points, 3 and 4. And we can see we got points on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can see we've imported the CSV. Going to do the same thing with my latitude, longitude, and height. And these are global coordinates. So if we look back at our different types, we can do point name, latitude, longitude, height, global. That's what we want. One thing I am going to check is that we can see down here at the bottom, everything looks fine. But our format is in degrees, minutes, and seconds. So I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to hit next once, press it again, and then press it one last time. And now I can see that my latitude is in degrees, minutes, seconds. If it's not, just change it to degrees, minutes, seconds. Longitude is the same way. Ellipsoid height, we just leave as display. But I'm going to hit import now. Same thing, just hit OK here. And we can now see that we've got more points. 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A have been added. And what I'll do is go to my View Filter Manager, and I'll turn on the IDs. So now we can see, if I click here, I've got point 1 and point 1A on top of each other. If your points are not near each other, if you've already done your site calibration, you should know that these 2 points should be pretty close to each other. Not dead on, but pretty close. So if you've got, one set of points here and the second set of points way over here, that should set off some bells that something's wrong. But now that we've got both of our points brought in, both sets of points, northern, eastern elevation, and latitude, longitude, and height, we can run our site calibration. And on my quick access toolbar down here, I've got the site calibration function. But if you don't, I believe if we go to the filled data tab, site calibration is right here. And if we can't find it here, we can go back to project, the command pane. We can click our command pane. Command pane comes up here, and we can search site calibration. And now the site calibration comes up. So I'm just going to go back, going to click my site calibration. The same screen comes up. So a couple things. We've got 4 points here, which means we can calculate our vertical shift plus our incline plane. Something new I learned the other day, if we only have 3 points that we did our site calibration, we cannot calibrate the incline plane, so we would do a vertical shift only. And if you try to do the 4 point, if you try to only do 3 points with the vertical shift plus incline plane on, it just won't calculate a vertical error for your site calibration. So 3 points, change it to vertical shift only. But since we have 4 points, we'll do the vertical shift plus the incline plane. So to do this site calibration, we're going to click points list and then GNSS point. So this is where the GNSS point is going to be our latitude point. So if I come in here, you can left click. Once we click in our GNSS point text box and our cursor starts flickering there, we can actually just click on top of 1A and then click on top of 1, and you see it'll auto-populate it. It'll fill it in for you. Move to our second point, 2A, then 2, on to the third, 3A and 3, and then 4A and 4. And we can see it leaves a blank box here, but that's fine. So now you're asking, what if at point 1 I only used the horizontal? My vertical is bad, so I only used the horizontal. We can go here back to our TP3 file, go to project, and then go to control points. And I can see that my base point, the one we deleted, didn't have any error. But I can see that 1, 2, 3, and 4 all had error at the horizontal and vertical. So now we know that we used each one. So we can say if you only did have horizontal, you would hit this type drop down and choose the horizontal, or if you only use the vertical, you would put vertical for point 1. But we know we use the horizontal and the vertical for each point. So we are good to go. If we drag our text box, our site calibration box down to the bottom, we can hit compute. And now it ran our site calibration. So we can see that our maximum horizontal residual is 48 thousandths and our vertical is 23 thousandths. And then we can go, that's the overall job error. Now we can go down and we can look at 1A. We can see what our error was there, 2A, 3A, and 4A. It should be pretty close to what you got with your Topcon equipment, but that should be good. That is our site calibration. That's the biggest thing. There is no easy way to, they just don't work together. The Topcon site calibration is completely different from the Trimble site calibration. At the end of the day, it does the same thing, but you've got to have the specific one for the specific equipment. So if I hit OK down here, now at the bottom, I can see that I have a calibrated site. So the next step, of course, is doing our surface and our line work. So let's go ahead, left click on our surface file, which is a DWG. Let's left click and drag this in. It's going to import. But I can see here is that surface, which is a DWG is just a line work file. So we are going to have to create the surface file based on this. But if you guys look under your we have the view filter manager, which if I click it, it'll take me to my view filter manager, which is where you can turn off layers. So my points are my control points. And this 3D GPS rough surface 1 is the layer for this surface. So I'm going to turn off my points. And once again, you can select everything, left click and drag to select everything, or you can press Control and A on your keyboard and it'll select everything on your screen. But we've got to recreate our surface. So if we select the surface layer, this 3D GPS rough surface 1, it's the only thing that we have on. And we come up to our surface tab and we hit create surface. I'm going to name it grading surface. Color doesn't matter here. And we've got to select what we want to make up our surface, which if we left click and don't have anything selected, we see 0. And if we press Control A, now we have everything selected. So when I hit OK, or apply, it's going to create a surface and we're going to see a surface tab pop up down here for the new surface. So when I hit OK, if I hit OK, it's just going to close out the surface tab. But I hit OK, and now, like I said, we have the surface that pops up here, and here's our grading surface. So if I just click, we can see that our surface layer is still on. If I unselect that, now I have a surface. So real quick, I'm going to turn the surface off and show you guys the difference. So down here at the bottom right, we have our northing and our easting. And as we move our screen around, that northing and easting changes. I can left click this and it'll bring up this little box that we can see more. You can see I've got a northing easting everywhere I go. And of course, when I created my surface, now I can see the surface elevation. But if I didn't have this surface on, then I wouldn't be able to see the surface elevation. So the moment I created the surface, now I can see the surface elevation everywhere I move my mouse on the surface. Off the surface, nothing. On the surface, I have an elevation. That's just how you get your cuts and fills. So now that we've created our surface, let's get our line work. So I'm going to turn that surface off, go back to my File Explorer, left click my line work file, and I'm going to drag it in. disregard the errors. It could be something random that's not going to bother us at all. As long as everything looks like it does on your Topcon job, everything should be good. But yeah, now we don't have to regenerate anything. We've got line work. And you can see it brought in all the different layers that you have on your job. And if we turn on our surface, this looks pretty similar to our Topcon job. I can turn my surface back on, but it looks pretty similar. Let me, 1 second. Pretty similar to what our Topcon job looked like. The triangular surface looks exactly the same. You could check, you could put your cursor on the same point here and the same point on your Topcon job and just check and make sure, but it's the same. So let's export this out to our machine now. We've done everything that we need to do. We've got a site calibration, we've got a surface file, and we've got a line work file. The last little check I like to do to make sure this is right is I come up to the support tab, or application, sorry. I click Google Earth, and I select selected entities, Control A, selects everything on my screen again, and I hit apply. When I hit apply, it's going to bring up Google Earth, and I just want to make sure that, you know, it's going to overlay my lines with where my job is. And I just want to check and, you know, make sure that everything's matching up. And I'm not going to hover here too long, but it was good. This is a job I've already done. It was good, so I'm going to exit out of that. Come back down to my File Explorer. Actually, I'm going to exit out of that. If you move your mouse all the way to the bottom right, it'll bring you back to your desktop. And I'm going to open my Topcon test job folder. And I'm going to create a new folder and name this one Earthworks. You can name it GCS if you have GCS, but I'm going to do Earthworks. We have nothing in here right now. So let's go back to Business Center and let's export all of this out. So when I export, I do turn my surface off where I can only see my lines. But we can go to Export, and you may have Export under your Project tab or your Quick Access toolbar. I can export. And the export we're going to do is in the Construction tab. So if you click around, you'll go to the Construction tab. And then if we look under our different types, we have the Machine Job Site Design Exporter. And this is going to export out our surface, our line work, and our calibration file. So our model type is going to be a surface. And then we're going to choose our grading surface, the same grading surface we have on the left side of the screen over here. Our design map is our line work. So what lines do we want to see? And we want to see everything that's on our screen right now. So once again, if we hit Control A, we select everything, and then we hit Add. That means we're adding it to our folder. There may have been 17 duplicate objects here. That's why I'd ignored it. But moving on, our file name, we got to tell it where we want to export this to. So if I hit my 3 dots over here, this button right here, I can tell it where I want to export. So if I go back to the desktop, and I want to put it in my Topcon test job folder, and I want to put them in my Earthworks folder, I'm just going to name it Grading with today's date, 11.11.19. And I hit Save. When I hit Save, it doesn't export it. It's just saving it to that spot. Now when I hit Export, it will actually export it. So it may take a second here, but it is exporting to Grading 11.11.19. So it's done. I can close this. You can hit Close Command after export. So when you hit Export, it'll close out this folder. But I'm going to go ahead and hit Close. And let's take a look. Let's go back to File Explorer. And I've got 4 files now. I've got a CAL, a CFG, an SVD, and an SVL. These 2 files right here are calibration files, localization files. The SVD is our surface, and the SVL is our line work. So we have now converted this Topcon TP3 file to the Trimble files that we need to make our job work. And I'll make another video that details File Flipper. because we're all going to use File Flipper when we bring our job into either Trimble GCS 900 or Trimble Earthworks. But these are the 4 files that we want to produce when we are converting a job from Topcon to Trimble. So look out eventually for that File Flipper video that I'm going to make and put up, and we will go from there.